Guess what? This is more real than any shit Match.com is ever going to create. Mating's incredible alchemical magic. People don't know how to consider it as sacred without feeling like they're being boring. I assure you, this is not boring. There are two major kinds of karmic relationships that I'd like to talk to you about. And if you can wrap your awareness around these two kinds of relationships, you're going to have a very different life. It is worth it and it is better, but it is uncomfortable to go through the change. Today, we are going to share some of the most incredible insights I've received. We're going to talk about how to cope with the emotional and mental transformation you go through when your spirit calls you to recognize yourself as something more than just this name and just this body. A lot falls apart when you firmly embrace the truth of your existence beyond this lifetime. And it starts to fall apart before something else makes sense. So in this dissolution, there is a degree of chaos, and we have to kind of chart paths through this chaos, but it's not the same path for everybody. One kind of karmic relationship exists through many lifetimes. You are living out karma with people who you've lived karma and shared karma with in other lives. When you firmly embrace the truth that you have been mates with other people, it's very confusing because you will be able to see in a child, in someone of the same gender, in someone who's 90, the presence of someone who may have been your partner. The absolute guidance in this is that you have to have the internal resolve to not allow yourself to be dragged around by these feelings. You'll remember the sexuality more vividly than many other forces. And you have to be able to be present with that and be like, hi, you're beautiful. Nothing more. Nothing more. When I was young, if I had a certain level of intensity, I was like, well, it must be fate. There's such a deep love here. I could be enthralled for ages. And I had no context for why I had such strong feelings. So as you go into this, as you allow these feelings to emerge, your kundalini rises. They're usually happening at the same time. And when your kundalini is rising, you got to get it past your sacral. Okay, you've got to get it up into your navel. You got to get it into your heart. And if you can't get it to your heart, don't. The truth about transcendent relationships, where you're starting to remember someone as your mate in another life, is that you remember that here. The memories reach your heart if it's true, I promise you. All you have to do is a basic litmus test is if you're feeling something incredible and intense and you don't feel it in your heart, you might want to second guess what's going on. To know yourself as another person in this way, you have to allow yourself to feel those passions, and you have to know them as something more than a fantasy. Because if you just think of it as a fantasy, you will get lost in the sense that you have to live that out now. And once you do that, you will shred your ability to be a partner with someone else as a human now. People are getting into this, they're evoking it, and then they're just like, yeah, let's just all sleep together. And they create mad chaos. And they create mad chaos because the creature in you does not want to do that. The creature in you needs the security of clear boundaries. Why? Because mating's incredible alchemical magic. Because this is the same intensity and dynamic that enables you to go into what feels like hatred. There's a reason lovers can hate each other, because the same energy that it goes towards union can push towards resentment and want distance. You have to be able to control this force. And controlling means channeling, because the power in it is intense. Allow yourself to connect with the memory of this other presence. But hold it with restraint, because you're going to start attracting all sorts of other people now who are simply promiscuous in a way that is designed to distract from pain. You're also avoiding the terrible ending in that life, the terrible ending where one of you died in violence. See, his story is littered with negative experiences for a reason. The point is to process the karma and learn how to recognize them, feel them, and then rechannel them. You can't rechannel them if you can't feel them. The point is to take a hatred that's bigger than yourself and to become something bigger than the hatred. And this brings us to the other kind of karmic relationship. Karmic relationships within this life. And the karmic relationships within this lifetime have a very different character. You can have a neutral energy. Something can happen to that energy. Now it's volatile. A fight can happen. Someone can get hit. Someone can get hurt badly. Trauma. There's a wound. That wounded energy can happen when you don't get something you want. If you're investing your entire reality into like getting a new position, like a new job, and then someone else gets it from you, you're left with a trauma, a wound. It's energy. When you look at that energy, this is karma. What was your investment in creating that? And the point is, things don't happen once. You're going to keep reliving the same patterns that created that wounded energy over and over and over again until you learn to move through them in a way that changes their course. You essentially, without having to do anything, are calling for anyone else who can work with this karma. Now, the people you generate the karma with, if it's strong enough karma, if it's a strong enough negative vibration, are likely going to be people who you go through the course of many lifetimes with. Take two people who used to fight so much and then one of them killed the other. If you just put them right back together, likely the equation has not been changed. You could carry your negative karma with something, a divine guidance usually, that says don't try yet. Don't be near that person. Don't. You won't make it better. It'll just become the same story. And thus you're holding this with a negation, and there's a force from both of you pushing against each other. That is a change. You are both saying no to the karma in a way that changes the equation. Now you've got something that isn't quite as raw. You've taken the edge off of it. What you've got left is resonating. Guess what? This is more real than any shit Match.com is ever going to create. This is spiritual dating. You will attract someone who can work with that karma. Your relationship to that karma is the magnetism you bear. Anybody have 3 relationships that have similar problems? This is why. So when you, with that space, set the strong commitment, I really want to heal. What can I do? You're changing your relationship, and that's like your profile. Your profile on your karma is saying, who else wants to heal this kind of nasty shit with me? So you know what's going to happen? You're going to find someone who roughly reflects or complements. So you're going like this and they're going like this. They roughly reflect or complement some relationship to that karma with you. And they're going to come closer, and you might be like, they're an asshole, not realizing that you're an asshole too. And because you can't accept that you're an asshole too, that's all you're going to do with that person. We have mechanisms in our lives to make what we think of as evil be somewhere else. I'm a good person and other people are bad people. You go through your life imagining bad people, you carry that with you. You own negativities early as your own. You don't need to project them on someone else. The critical first step here is there are no murderers who are worse than you. There are no rapists who are worse than you. You were a raping murderer in Egypt. If you don't consider that maybe that was you, you don't get Earth. Doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean you even deserve it. Be with that. We don't all deserve to suffer, even in the ways we've induced suffering. It does mean you don't get to fuel the rage. You don't get permission to hate. It's gone. We're taking it away from you right now. The path through this is going to be different for everyone. I had haunting memories of a knife and blood going through my head for years. And I went back to an old therapist. She led me through a past life regression in which I saw myself killing someone who I loved after years of terrible fights. And when I went home that day, I bawled and screamed in a way I've never experienced. There was no possibility that I was making this shit up. It's just, sometimes you trust things and it's like, I could argue with this. And if I do, I'm going to be arguing with this for the rest of my life. After that, I was immune to thinking other people are assholes. It's an incredible experience. I'm not even particularly afraid of other people. I'm cautious. I pick up on signs that someone could be volatile, and largely I have a very easy, natural, graceful ability to just be like, no, I don't think I'm going to be part of that. I can nonetheless see a human being, and I don't see someone who's less than me. I'm seeing them with compassion, like, don't do it. And I'm telling you that. You don't want this. You don't want to fuel this hatred. You don't want to fuel this resentment. This isn't the same as blaming yourself. That is a different dynamic. When people blame themselves in a way that they think they're supposed to suffer, you don't do that from an awareness of multiple lifetimes. If you're living in such a space, please hear me. This is about responsibility. What is your ability to respond? You must presume that you're going to face a similar karma again. And when you do, can you prepare yourself so that you will make different decisions? When you take your opportunities and make it a little bit better, and you avoid self-righteous understandings about you're the good guy and they're the bad guy, which, by the way, if you think someone else is the evil bad guy, you have a shadow side that thinks you're the bad guy. You got to erase this shit. Cut it out. If you've experienced something terrible in this life, consider that maybe you've done that to someone else. And once you generate that maybe, you're in a space where you get a different kind of leverage over reality. One of the most amazing steps you can take is what I was communicating earlier. You say, no, I refuse to invest my heart into a dynamic like this. I know it's really bad for me. But you say it like that. And when you walk away, do you attract someone else like that or not? Negative karma is shared. You have to go into it. You have to be in a situation where you experience the same kind of rage and then you don't fucking do it. That's the beauty of healing on earth. You learn to experience the same kind of feelings and you don't do it. So now you've created, with your will, with your life force now, you've generated an energy that's bigger than the hatred, and you've turned it off and it hasn't erupted in violence. That's good karma. So I want you to be present to the fact that some of the relationships that you've had in this life are likely beings who you will never see again in another life. And the gift that they've given you is to change the equation. When you have worked out as much as you have available with someone else, you get to say no and you can let go and you won't re-experience those same patterns in the same way. And as a result, when you do have a rendezvous, and we have scripted rendezvous at specific times with people who we do have contracts with across lifetimes. And we know when we're 27, we're going to meet up. And from wherever you start dating or playing around until 27, you're going to try to turn yourself into a different kind of person so you can have a new relationship with this person. So as you get in touch with the fact that other people have been your mates, you have to be able to feel that. Know yourself as this other person who's been in love with someone else, who's been in passion with someone else, and somehow be a bigger presence in this life now. So you can literally experience that and smile and have a transcendent reverence for what we are. Because when energy rises in you, there are reasons it's rising. And when it keeps rising, we're talking through the body and it goes all the way out your crown. And when you get energy to do this, you still want to share passion. And it's coming from a much deeper and more conscious space. And you're able to feel incredible intensities without feeling like you have to live them out, without trying to grab them or own them. because you begin to realize that any attraction and intensity you feel is from you as well. You don't project all your beauty onto other people anymore. You recognize that when connections click, this is you creating it also. So you're able to just breathe in the presence of intensity. Simply rest in the question, what is my karma and what do I need to do? And as you ask this question on a regular basis, you're going to start to unveil the distinction between people who've been in your life for a chapter or even an event, and people who've been in your life and they've been in your lives before. It takes a lot of nuance and a deep discipline to unveil the truth to yourself in these ways. And in the middle, there's this chaos. And in this chaos, you got to take care of yourself. So we need to do this together. Consider joining the sanctuary. It's the best way I know to try to create a circle where we're safe and we can talk about such things. And the best place to begin is wherever you are. It's all designed to bring you back to this body, back into your feelings, and back into learning how to channel intentionally and consciously with the world around you. That's it.